Uhuru comrades, Uhuru. On behalf of the Hands Off Uhuru Coalition, I want to give a very warm Uhuru welcome to everyone who has come on today for this powerful webinar that we have for you. I am Soliana Bakel, Managing Editor of the Burning Spear newspaper, and I will be your MC today along with the Hands Off Uhuru Vice Chair, Penny Hess of the African People's Solidarity Committee. We, of course, want to begin by saluting our leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and Chair Mwezi, who is the chair of Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa. And, this will be a great webinar today as we celebrate the powerful and profound victory that forced the U.S. colonial government to release Indigenous freedom fighter Leonard Peltier after nearly 50 years of being falsely locked up in colonial prison for defending Indigenous people on their own stolen land. As Comrade Leonard Peltier says in the video, we are winning and we will keep fighting until our nation is free.
Uhuru Soliana, and I'm so honored to be here today at this powerful webinar. And it's always just really powerful to see you, Soliana, and really appreciate that you're leading this meeting today, and it's an honor to be here. I do want to join in saluting our leadership, my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Deputy Chair Onizine Yeshitela, and the African People's Socialist Party, and to say that I do have the honor of being the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee, the organization of white people under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. And we just really want to salute our dear comrades from the official Leonard Peltier Ad Hoc Committee, who some of whom are here with us today, and that it is, as always, an honor to be able to have you on. And the official Leonard Peltier Ad Hoc Committee has been part of the Hands Off Uhuru Coalition since its founding in July of 2023.
Uhuru, yes. And I want to add that in the African People's Socialist Party, we believe that, the driving force of history is the struggle of African people and, colonized people against colonialism, right? This fight that indigenous people, that people like Leonard Peltier have been fighting against. And, Tremona Mashitela represents the worldwide struggle of African, indigenous, and oppressed peoples for the total liberation of Africa and the liberation of the indigenous people as the rightful owners of this land. And we want to end the system of oppressors and the oppressed and colonial domination of whole peoples. This is what the chairman has called the colonial mode of production, right? And we understand that the freedom for Alain Peltier is a victory for all African and colonized peoples that are fighting for our liberation and for the struggle to free all political prisoners, right? That is the goal. And, we also want to take the time to, talk about and also thank the more than, 650 friends, organizations, and comrades who sent in more than 1,600 moving and powerful character letters for the Uhuru 3. And we'll be, laying out the upcoming appeal and the current status of the Uhuru 3 case as well. And I know, Chair Penny, I know you wanted to say more about, the folks who wrote all these amazing letters on behalf of the Uhuru 3. Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you, Soliana. Yes, and we're also very honored and excited to have with us Dr. Aisha Fields, who is the leader of APDEP, the All African Peoples Empowerment Project. I know I left an A out there, and and just all of the work that she has done under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party in Africa and throughout the United States, forwarding the right of African people to be free and liberated. So I'm really excited to have her on. Dr. Aisha Fields is the coordinator of the campaign to get all of these letters in. So, and some of the people have made videos of themselves reading their letters. So it's gonna be really exciting to see that. And we're gonna talk about that a little bit more a little bit later. So we just do want to remind everybody also to go to handsoffuhuru.org/donate. And we thank you for donating. We are raising $2,000 today. And this is going towards the appeal that we're going to be facing. And Comrade Jesse Neville is going to be on a little bit later to talk about that as well. So let's get started. And we know that this is a time of some great victories for the Uhuru movement and for the world and for African and oppressed people And we just want to start with a video on the victory won by the struggle of the Uhuru Bakery Cafe against the kind of attacks that were coming down against it by the city of St. Louis. And last month, Deputy Chair Onizine Yeshitela, who leads that struggle, was on with us, and it was great. So we just want to say that they won, that they're going to be able to open that cafe, fought back, and it's a very powerful victory. So let's look at this quick video.
So now we can go forward to secure the building permit, begin the renovation, provide needed employment in our community. Our local contractors have been on standby and are ready to go. We are grateful for all of our supporters from all around the world. Will continue to fight for all of Northside businesses to get fairly treated by the city. We look forward to welcoming everybody to the New Her Bakery Cafe, and you can support or volunteer with the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe at contact us as stl@uhurufoods.org. And I just want to say that we are the vanguard leading the economic process. Our economic work is revolutionary work. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Powerful victory. So we want to salute Deputy Chair Onizine Yeshitela and the Uhuru Foods and the whole office of the Deputy Chair, who has fought for economic development and is building an amazing whole program of dual and contending power here in St. Louis. And we want to invite anybody that's on to come visit us in St. Louis. So Soliana, next we are going to be able to talk to our comrade Dawn Lawson from the official Leonard Peltier Ad Hoc Committee, who has been on with us before, and we know that this whole struggle to free Leonard Peltier after 50 years of being locked up by this colonial government for defending the indigenous people's own land from the US colonial violence that was imposed on it. And we recognize that this land, all of this land, belongs to the indigenous people. And it's very powerful to have this on. I believe we also are able to have Lenny Foster on as well, from the American Indian movement, I believe. And Lenny Foster, also, please turn on your cameras if you can. And Dawn, it's powerful. We really want to welcome you today, Uhuru and victory. We are so happy, and we salute you for just your powerful work to fight to get Leonard Peltier out, to know that he is back in his home with his family, with his people. This is, that the US government was forced to release him through the struggle of the people and through the struggle in the courts. So welcome, welcome. And Lenny Foster, can you tell us a little bit about this victory and how what is happening with Leonard Peltier, his return to his homeland, and welcome to Hands Off Uhuru. It's good to have you on again.
Yeah, no, this is the backend and the artist or hadith just the only Kiani and Scott Safrani was a chum. Top mind as a chair and a one as a null. Got don't mention other backends and the qua artist or sad by hadith just on the Sinai Leonard Peltier. I want to thank you by way of introduction. In a traditional manner of my people, Dene, we always introduce ourselves by our clan. Many of our comrades have forgotten their ways. They forgot their language. They forgot their culture. They don't really practice that, so they have to pick it up and start practicing it again. So we encourage everyone to do that. I mean, we can speak in English. That's not really a problem, but I think in order to have the spirits recognize us and to hear our words and the sincerity and the respect for the honor of our ancestors who struggled so much to survive. My own people signed a treaty so we could return from incarceration and 500 miles away from our Aboriginal homelands. It was called a Bosque Redondo near Fort Sumner, New Mexico. So these are part of the teachings that I used to take into the prison system, including where Leonard Peltier was incarcerated, United States Penitentiary, Leavenworth, Kansas. I visited him for 20 years, and then he was transferred 2005 to Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, and I visited him there for another 10 years up to 2015. Then I started visiting him after he was transferred to USP Coleman. So all of these stops for Leonard were very brutal, very cruel. The sensory deprivation, I would advise everyone to research that, what that concept is about for individuals who are locked up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's very cruel and unusual. It's brutal. It's hard on the psychological, emotional, spiritual well-being of a human being. So I was able to help Leonard through his difficult times in Leavenworth, Lewisburg, and Coleman. And he recently was on the 18th of February, he was finally released after close to 50 years of incarceration. And it took a very hard toll on him. No human being should be subject to that in the United States prison system, and we should all recognize that. It's been very difficult for him. He's suffered, he lost many loved ones, including his father and his mother and some of his relatives, grandparents, and even a son. Waha was passed away while Leonard was locked up. So he didn't have time to properly grieve or engage in any kind of ceremonial ways to let that feeling go. And he's just now back in his homeland in Belcourt, North Dakota, on the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Reservation. He's getting adjusted. It's going to be a while because of the toll it has taken on his well-being, physical and medical and spiritual. And one of the
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me finish what I'm saying, please.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I don't like being interrupted in the middle of my talk. I would appreciate it if you honor that and respect that, please.
Yes, absolutely.
I just want to finish what I'm saying. If you want to talk, then I can get off and leave. I don't appreciate that. Whoever's trying to interrupt me while I'm trying to make a statement that's very important, serious. So Leonard is experiencing these difficult times, and prayers are appreciated. I know one of the requests he's made within the last few days that he would like to have a service train German Shepherd to help him because he's losing his vision. And he fell last week, and he was able to get up, but it was very difficult for him. So he's experiencing some of these issues, and I think we should recognize that we love him, we missed him, and we helped him, and we need to continue to do that. And the only way that many of us can help is with not only prayers but financial assistance to help obtain or secure a German Shepherd dog that's trained to provide that kind of help or service to an elder who's losing his eyesight. And then just other things with his medical status. He's suffering from severe diabetes, high blood pressure, just all the different physical ailments with his age. He's 80 years old. He spent close to 50 years locked up. And we appreciate and respect the time that many of our comrades, whether they were African Americans, former Black Panthers, the Black Guerrillas, the Chicano movement, the different nationalities who have been locked up. Many did not survive. They died in captivity. And we certainly didn't want our brother, relative, Leonard Peltier, to experience that. So we were very blessed to have him release and return to the community, Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa. And I applaud President Joe Biden, for making that possible. He had the courage to do that. A lot of people don't like him, but Clinton had the opportunity, Obama had the opportunity, others, Bush, Trump, they didn't have the courage to do that. So a lot of people badmouth Joe Biden, but he's going to be emerge and surface as an icon for Indian country because he had the courage to make that possible for the request for commutation. So I applaud the presidency of Joe Biden. And all the others, and National Congress of American Indians, they were the primary force behind, through the requests made through resolutions at their annual conference dating back 50 years when Leonard was first incarcerated. We approached the National Congress of American Indians, also the International Indian Treaty Council also passed many resolutions seeking the release of Leonard Peltier dating back 50 years. And there's others that I remember that fought for his freedom. I know we approach such leaders as Nelson Mandela, the Dalai Lama, Desmond Tutu, Jesse Jackson. These are just some of the notable people who we approach for their support. So many people put forth their energy, their medicine, their prayers into this effort to release our brother, our relative. And I myself I feel like I spent time with him those 50 years because I met him on the streets of Denver, Colorado when I was a college student. I was 21 years old, and I was a student at Colorado State University. I met him in Denver, And he remembers that. And then we sundanced together in Rosebud, South Dakota, at a place called Crow Dog's Paradise, Leonard Crow Dog. They were the only Lakota family who kept the Sundance alive through the many years of repression, religious persecution by the United States government. They wanted us to cut our hair. They wanted us to destroy our medicine bundles, destroy our sweat lodges, our pipes, medicine bundles, speak English, and put our children or young relatives in boarding schools and brainwashed them. The colonization took a vicious toll on our people like that. And many of us are survivors of those institutions. And I sundanced with Leonard, like I said. So he knew that the sweat lodge, the cleansing and the purification ceremony was important while he was incarcerated. That was the one way, maybe the only way to really deal with that brainwashing. It takes a toll on your mind. And the individuals go crazy being locked up, especially in those isolation. And he was in the toughest prisons in the United States. So these were his experience, and he asked me to come in to conduct the sweat lodge ceremonies, and I did. For 37 years, I did that. And I didn't leave him. And I was very happy. I was overjoyed when I heard that he was released Tuesday morning, February 18th, 2025. Then he called me that afternoon when he arrived, got back to Belcourt, North Dakota, Turtle Mountain Reservation, Chippewa Reservation. And we talked, and it was a happy moment for us. And he asked me, I just talked to him last Sunday. He called me, and he wanted to know when I was going to come and see him and pray with him. And he's a believer in the pipe. I myself believe in the pipe, and that we would pray, fill the bowl, and smoke the pipe and pray, give thanks, because we did all the cleansing and the purification and the smoking the pipe from 1981 to 2018. And then the last 7, 8 years, we were unable to do that because the warden at Coleman wouldn't approve me to come in and visit and pray with him at the Sweat Lodge area. And now that he's free, we can do that in his homeland. So that's what I'm planning to do. And he thanks all of you for speaking on his behalf. We know that words are very sacred. In the Indian way, in indigenous manner, words are very sacred. And we're always told to be careful what you say. And so we want to put a closure to him being locked up and let that go, and to have him help him start a new life as a free man, as a free human being out in the world. So that's our next thing that we want to do. So I just want to share that with you. He really appreciates all that you have done, and whatever manner that you communicate with your creator, that the blessing comes with that. So I want to say that Bahin Sandi Kut Adel, Batatatos, and then Hodinan, Etatani, Bayat, Eto, Bay, Kitsil, Vinci case. Ekut aba ye ba kehni tsin edi Leonard. Shina but the snow edi ye yat ntscha ya hen sano de gut ye hat zi ye tsko das hotel ne shedini ba hen sano he dis ka je do gut shat hat do sano katen de chenas sa de kon Homadan sa do de ko shike banan sa would ba hen sano he and shedini do les on. That's what he expressed to me, that he is very full of gratitude and appreciation. His heart fills with joy and happiness to be back among his people. He has always stated that he was an innocent man. He was not given a fair trial. All the evidence were withheld. The prosecutors, the U.S. attorney lied, the FBI lied, and the judges, they went along with that. There was a lot of deception. A lot of lies were made, and that's not good. The Creator understands that. We understand that. And it's not something that's good to live with or experience. So I think that's we should always take note of that. And he appreciates for the honesty, the support, and the prayers that have been made. And not only relatives, but complete strangers who believed in that cause. So thank you, and I thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, allowing me to speak.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. I absolutely apologize for interrupting you. I'm so glad that you were able to put out your entire message. And I, just really want to thank you for the work that you have led and been part of for all this time. And we are so happy to see that Leonard Peltier is out of prison. Chairman Omali Yeshitela, I'd like to call you up to see if you have any words on this. Chairman Omali Yeshitela is here with us. And I know Dawn is here. Dawn is here from the Leonard Peltier Ad Hoc Committee. And Chairman Uhuru, that's over there. Yeah, Uhuru.
Uhuru,
Yes,
thank
we're
you.
very happy to welcome Chairman Omali Yeshitela. We are at the Uhuru House in St. Louis. Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you very much. I want to also express appreciation to our relative, Comrade Lenny, and to state that for us in the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement, the question of supporting Leonard Peltier was more than simply the case that he was accused of, where he was accused of committing some kind of crime. We recognize that in this country, in much of this hemisphere, the whole social system rests upon the foundation of the stolen land of the indigenous people, whom we have supported since our inception as an organization. And the stolen land of the indigenous people and the stolen labor of African people who were forced to work on this land that functions, that actually is a settler colony. And within this settler colony, there's this domestic colony of African people. So for us, it was an obligation to do this, not from sympathy or anything like that, but because we know that the entire foundation of the oppression, exploitation of all the people, not just in this country, but globally, the foundation is the enslavement of colonial enslavement of African people the settler colonialism of the indigenous people that includes Leonard Peltier. We always felt like it was necessary to free the understanding, to free the fight for the freedom of Leonard Peltier from a narrow interpretation in terms of seeing it simply as Leonard Peltier, an individual. We felt like it was necessary to put the struggle to free Leonard Peltier in the context of the whole struggle of the indigenous people. And because Leonard Peltier was arrested because settlers who took this land and established what they call law to benefit settler colonialism. And it was done at the expense of the indigenous peoples, the expense of African people, the expense of those of us who are colonized. And while we appreciate the fact that Joseph Biden moved to free Leonard Peltier, we also understand that Biden did this in the context of a struggle of peoples everywhere and throughout this country against colonialism, the struggle of the Palestinian people, all of these things that were bringing to light the colonialism that has dominated the world for such a long period of time, and that the arrest of Leonard Peltier, the murder of indigenous people, the arrest of me and the Uhuru folk, the killing of Panthers and Malcolm X, all of these things were efforts to subdue, to destroy the understanding and idea that this is a colonial situation, that this is the colonial mode of production. And although the colonizer makes the law, that enables Joe Biden and Donald Trump and all of the others to do as they will with us, to either arrest us or pardon us or these things. The colonizers makes the law, but colonialism itself is illegitimate. That's the thing that informs us. And we stand shoulder to shoulder with the indigenous people, always have. I appreciated Comrade Lenny talking about the years that he visited and worked with our relative Leonard Peltier. And, you know, I can go back to times when my grandchildren were participating in marches and demonstrations in support of Leonard Peltier. My grandchildren who, when they were 2 and 3 years and 4 years old, right there in California. And our participation at Big Mountain, where we were there when the United States government had decided that they were going to, at one time, attack the Diné people because they had discovered uranium on that land, and we stood shoulder to shoulder with our relatives at Big Mountain, prepared to engage in whatever struggle our relatives wanted to engage in. So we have deep appreciation because we recognize that when African people were brought to this land, which for us at the time was a strange land, a foreign land, that the only friends that we had were the indigenous people. So we have a very strong belief about that. And we say that the freedom of Leonard Peltier is a part of the process to free all of the people who are colonized, including African people ourselves. So I just wanted to say those things. And thank you so much, Comrade Lenny, for being here and for everything that's been spoken of up to this point. I anticipate having an extraordinary webinar now where we would forward the understanding of people about the significance of the struggle to free Leonard Peltier, the struggle of the indigenous people who are still in concentration camps that's called reservations, not in many ways dissimilar from what we see happening to Palestinians on occupied Palestine. In many ways, we're looking at occupied indigenous lands right near where settlers have taken this land and created their own laws and created their own prisons on our land and created their own judges and their own courts and things like that, and their own presidents and their own Congress and all of these other things that we have come to have to rely on for our livelihood. It's a livelihood based on colonial domination, and we recognize that. And we recognize that Comrade Leonard Peltier was one of the great champions, the great fighters in opposition to the colonial domination of the indigenous people, Lakota, as well as other peoples. And so we stand shoulder to shoulder with you. Our intent is to govern. It's not, I've been imprisoned, and we're part of a movement where prison was something that we expected to occur because we stood up and tried to resist this. But the movement was about more than getting us out of prison. The movement was about destroying colonial mode of production. We're preparing to govern because that's the only way we will ever have what we can define as justice. So thank you, Uhuru.
Uhuru, Uhuru, thank you so much, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And we do have a brief video of Comrade Leonard Peltier speaking on the day that he was released from the colonial prison. So we just want to watch that as well.
We are not going to give up. We're going to win. We've been winning. We're going to continue to win. We're gonna stick together. We're going to unite. As it is right now, we've been united all through indigenous countries, and we're gonna fight back. We're gonna continue until we are a free nation. I gave 50 years for that. You know, and I'm going to give the rest of my life. So. They haven't broken. They have not broke me. I am not broken.
Oh, Uhuru, that's powerful. And this has been very, very powerful to be able to have Lenny Foster on today. Comrade Don, if you just have a few parting words, and we really, really appreciate you for being on as well.
Thank you, Chair Penny, and thank you for everybody that spoke. And we have changed our name to the Leonard Peltier Official Support Group now.
Okay.
And there was a misunderstanding. For some reason, people believed Leonard was going to go straight to the Mayo Clinic and get his health taken care of. The man has suffered 50 years worth of medical neglect. And he is now trying to figure out what he qualifies for with Medicare and Medicaid. He still cannot see. And we are determined to see that he deserves nothing less than the best health care out there. And with the help of his supporters, we are determined that he will see the correct eye doctors and people that know what they're doing. And as Lenny Foster said, he wants a German Shepherd. And we've all unanimously agreed it will be a trained service dog. Well, I spoke to Leonard the other day and I told him, you deserve to be spoiled rotten for the rest of your life. He said, I don't want to be spoiled rotten. I want to be a spokesperson for my people. And that's Leonard. What you saw right now, that's Leonard. And this is a victory. He is home on his ancestral land, but he is not truly free. He is still being illegally detained under home confinement. He cannot be a spokesman for his people without getting permission to speak. And so until he is truly free to be who he is, and the man has lived a life that would break the best of us, and he has not bent, not even a little. Until he is truly free, we are not done with this battle. We are determined to see him healthy, whole, with his German Shepherd, able to speak when he wants to speak.
And Dawn, could you put out where people can donate on the?
Yeah, I put it in the chat. I'll put it again. It's
Okay, yes.
www.leonardpeltiernow.org/donate.
FreeLeonardPeltierNow.org/donate.
Yes, I will put the end. Leonard is truly grateful to everyone who has supported him throughout the years, from the people of the British Columbia jail with their drums and their chantings. You know, it's been 50 years of people dedicated to seeing him free that got him out. It was no one person, it was no one entity. And I don't want to take up too much time, so I will just say that he is with his people. A couple of his family members have been absolute rocks for him, and we're just grateful that he is breathing free air. But he needs to be truly freed. In the preface of Ward Churchill's book, Russell Means says that against American Indians, the United States has There's not one law that has not been broken. There is not one human rights violation that has not been committed. And it's an ongoing thing. Indigenous genocide, Leonard calls it death by statistics now. You know, we all know what reservations are, concentration camps. And the dual system of justice we have going on needs to be dismantled. I will just wrap it up with free Leonard Peltier all the way. All the way. We are determined to see him healthy and whole with his German Shepherd, being able to speak as he likes. And thank you so much for all your support.
Uhuru. Uhuru, thank you so much. Lenny Foster and Dawn Lawson. This has been very powerful. Thank you so much for coming on again to Hands Off Uhuru. We are winning. Victory to Indigenous people. Uhuru. So we are going now to our opening PowerPoint, we call it. So let me, no, I'm sorry, we have an opening statement from Comrade Soliana.
Uhuru Penny, yeah, we just did that. So
Did that? Okay, sorry.
So you can go ahead and do the
I'm in the wrong part here.
It's okay, we're just playing go by ear this time around. We're all good. But yeah, so Lisa has it up, so you can go ahead, Comrade Chairman Penny.
All right. Yes, thank you, Comrade. Okay, good. Good. I'm glad we're going forward here. So let me see. We are going to our opening PowerPoint now. Uhuru. So Comrade Soliana, we're gonna do this together.
Sure.
All right, great. So let's see. So this should be on, yes, Hands Off Uhuru, Fightback Coalition, Uhuru, everybody. And the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition is a non-sectarian, anti-colonial free speech coalition to make the demand to drop the charges against the Uhuru 3 and to defend the right to freedom of speech.
Uhuru, of course. And we also want to salute our chairman, Omali Yeshitela, leader of the Worldwide African Revolution, founder of the African People's Socialist Party. And we also want to go ahead and salute our deputy chair, Omali Yeshitela, the architect of the Black Power Blueprint. We did a bit on the recent bakery struggle that we won. And, we just want to salute just the amazing work taking place with the Black Power Blueprint, just seeing Black Power in action. So Uhuru and salute Comrade Onizane.
Uhuru, salute to Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela and Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And we say this is victory to Leonard Peltier. This is a great photograph of him just very recently. Uhuru, and we salute the powerful victory. Comrade Leonard Peltier is home. And the chairman mentioned a little bit earlier a picture of a Leonard Peltier rally in San Francisco probably about 1980, maybe 83, 84. It's a little hard to see, but all the way in the back is Comrade Biko Lumumba, who was a leader of the African People's Socialist Party and who is the father of Comrade Jainaba Lumumba, who is a leading member of the African People's Socialist Party today. He is speaking there at this rally in the 1980s. This is in San Francisco in front of the courthouse. Next slide. And we salute the Leonard Peltier, the Leonard Peltier Official Support Committee. So yes, we need to change that name on there. And attorney Jennifer Jones, who has been just a powerful, who was the lead attorney for Leonard Peltier's case and who has been just a really important member of the Black is Back Coalition and of the Hands Off Uhuru since the earliest days of the coalition. And there is Comrade Dawn also with one of her comrades. Her. So next slide. And the Uhuru 3. Go ahead, Soliana, you can put this out.
Uhuru, yeah, for sure. And of course, this is the Uhuru 3 of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Chairman Penny Hess, and Chair Jesse Neville. And you already heard from Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and then you will hear from Chair Jesse as well as we, push forward this program. And, we just want to, make the connection of this struggle, to free the Uhuru 3 and now the freedom of Leonard Peltier is this, same attack that we're fighting against. And we just want to make sure that that we understand that this, you know, it's really the power of the people's, relentless struggle and calling for, the freedom of all of our political prisoners, for always leading that struggle, and making it, a really ubiquitous campaign that, the government couldn't ignore. So, the victory of the Huru 3, the victory of, getting Leonard Peltier home is this, the work of our struggle. So just wanted to mention that and salute, Chairman for also mentioning that. So we can go ahead to the next slide. We of course also we are going to have a report from Dr. Aisha Fields, who is chair of the All African People's Development and Empowerment Project, APDEP, and she will be leading the, the Huru 3 Right, or she did lead the Huru 3 Right for Justice campaign, in which we got, over 1,600 letters of support. Just this really amazing coming together of the people, again, once again, highlighting how it's really the work of the people that brings these victories to us. And so again, just wanted to thank all the supporters for that amazing character writing campaign. Uhuru Penny.
Uhuru. So we demand the release of all political prisoners, including Leonard Peltier, Jalil Al-Amin, Mumia Abu Jamal, Ed Poindexter, and many others. And we also demand drop all the charges against Assata Shakur. Next slide. So yes, free Mumia. We stand with Comrade Mumia Abu Jamal and demand his release. And we just salute the powerful comrades and members of the Hands Off Uhuru Coalition, PAM Africa and Comrade Ramona Africa. Uhuru, next slide.
Uhuru, yeah, we also say free Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly known as H. Brown, and of course all political prisoners. We recognize that it's important, obviously, to celebrate these victories, but also, continuing on recognizing that the struggle is definitely not over. And, once we get these political prisoners home, going ahead and continuing the work to make sure that all political prisoners are free. And that is why we say free them all, all political prisoners must be free. And then next slide.
Uhuru,
Yeah.
Comrade Soliana, just to say, the chairman was just informing me that Jalil Al-Amin is very ill, and we just wanted to say that the struggle continues.
I understand he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And that's what I saw today. I don't know how accurate that is, but if so, obviously the government could have made it possible for him to have had some kind of medical care since they had him locked up unjustly anyway. So
Uhuru. Right. So we need to keep struggling until we have the African people and indigenous and colonized peoples have control over their lives and their own political economy. So we want to also say that Comrade Lisa Davis, who's the vice chair of the Black is Back Coalition, has been facing trial. She has a free speech trial going on in New Jersey, and we will keep updates. Apparently it's not all the way over with, so we will have updates on that on upcoming programs. And Soliana?
Yeah, Uhuru. And so, of course, like we mentioned, this hands-off Uhuru counter-offensive was something that was initiated, after the July 29, 2022, pre-dawn military style attack that was, waged on the African People's Socialist Party. And, ever since then, we've built this really amazing coalition of organizers and organizations. And just we have on the next slide, just a picture of just one of those groups. We have, our supporters at D12, comrades in Brooklyn, New York, who held a really amazing press conference in the wake of that, just showing that support. And then again, of course, showing that, this was an international support as well. We are part of this global anti-colonial free speech movement. It's not just free speech for the sake of free speech, but making sure that, the speech that we are partaking in and using is something that is in anti-colonial, right? It is against this colonial mode of production. And so it is something, practical comes out of it, which is the, destruction of the colonial mode of production. And we always want to be clear on that. So Uhuru, thank you for all of our supporters, this global wide movement that we're just super proud of. Uhuru, Penny.
Uhuru. And, just to say again that the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition has a couple of hundred members, or in terms of organizations, and in the thousands of members and supporters, individuals as well. And the coalition was formed in 2023, and it's been very, very exciting. Next slide. We have endorsements across the political spectrum, and if you would like to see more, you can go to handsoffuhuru.org and see who all of the powerful endorsers are of the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition.
Uhuru. Yeah, and yeah, we've done so much in terms of the, media coverage. We've at one point, folks were doing 3-4 interviews a day. And so we just want to salute everyone for just making sure that we were, fighting against this information enclosure that we were in the wake of the attack. We, also did a bunch of webinars like you see, like this one here, just making sure that the people are aware of, the political significance of this attack, but also making sure that we are telling, the story from our perspective, because we cannot trust the colonial media, this bourgeois media. So just making sure that the people's struggle and the people's will has always been centered in this iteration of the the counteroffensive that we've been facing. So yeah, and then we also, packed the courthouse. That was just an amazing victory and amazing turnout. Supporters, again, from all over the political spectrum came out. We're there all day, and we did daily coverage of that. So salute the Burning Spear Media, of which I'm a proud member. And Penny, do you want to go ahead and salute our brilliant attorneys?
Yes, really want to salute our amazing legal team and our brilliant attorneys, and including attorney Leonard Goodman, Addie Griffin. We have Mutaki Akbar, Angela Rainey, Tom Inskeep. And I know that there have also been other attorneys who have been supportive and done other kinds of work and briefs to support the Uhuru 3. But this team is the dream team. They really fought for us, and they're still going forward to lead the appeal that will be coming up, and we'll talk about a little bit later. So the US government lied and lost. The Uhuru movement told the truth and won. It's not over. We're going to appeal. We're going to talk about that more today. That's coming up. And so I think I think this part is finished. We have ongoing attacks, but we will be able to go through that at another time. And I'm going to skip forward to number 37. Today's goal is to raise $2,000 towards the appeal, the resources that we need for that. And again, we want to say victory for Leonard Peltier, victory for Indigenous people. We are winning. It is powerful to be on the winning side. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Yes, thank you. And just to remind folks, you can donate at handsoffwho.org/donate so we can reach that $2,000 goal. And Penny, if you have the information on who has donated so far, did you want to go ahead and share that?
Let me see. Did somebody send me that? Or maybe Amanda could come up. Okay, so, oh my goodness, we have raised $360 so far. We have $100 from Comrade Jesse. Dawn, thank you for $20. An anonymous donor gave $100. Maureen, Comrade Maureen, gave $75. MQ gave $40, Comrade Amanda, 25. And the total, is it still 360? No, Comrade Alex gave 40. So far, we have raised 400. I will put in $100 today, so that puts us at 500. So we have $1,500 left to go, and I know that we're going to do this. Uhuru.
Uhuru, shout out to you, Penny, Comrade, and everyone who's donated so far. Thank you so much. So I believe up next on the program, we have a report on letters led by you, Chairwoman Penny, and Dr. Aisha Fields of AppDep. So Uhuru, comrades, I'm gonna go ahead and invite you up.
Uhuru. Uhuru, it is really a great honor. I'm so excited to be able to welcome Dr. Aisha Fields, the leader of AppDep, and just a very important leading cadre of the African People's Socialist Party. And just welcome. Welcome. So glad that you're here today. And we're going to talk about all the outpouring of character letters that came in from so many people. Very powerful and very moving.
Uhuru, Comrade Penny, I'm happy to be here also. It's been an incredible webinar so far, very powerful. And just to say that really want to just appreciate everybody who's played a role in the incredible letter writing campaign that allowed us to receive about 1,600 character letters from almost 700 comrades and friends from around the world. It was a really, really powerful and important campaign.
Yes, yes. And, you know, we want to thank as well all of the comrades and friends who came out to the trial and then to the sentencing just about a month or so later. Some of the same people came both times. I think it was about 200 people or 150 people at least that actually came down to Florida to stand with the Uhuru Three. That was such an important stand, and all of the effort that all the comrades, that all of you took to come. I saw people I hadn't seen for years. It was so beautiful to see.
Yeah, I want to also salute everybody who participated on the ground in showing support to Uhuru 3. And one of the things that we're excited to do today is to hear from some of the people who submitted really powerful character letters. So we've got some of our comrades who've sent videos of themselves, reading their powerful letters. And we want to not only appreciate those who've already submitted, videos, that some of which we'll see today, but we really want to call on everybody who can, everybody who wrote one of those 1,600 letters that came in from for the character letter campaign to submit a video. So we're calling on you. There's going to be more said soon about how you can send and submit those important letters, but we do want to make the call. Consider videotaping yourself, reading your letter, and we want to be able to use those in future webinars and in other ways just to continue to promote the really powerful campaign and the tremendous support that's come from all over the world for our comrades in Uhuru 3.
Uhuru. And we are going to do a mailer light next week that will really, just lay out, if you need a little instruction. Comrade Soliana actually, put out an easy way to do this. And, we want to make a form that you can just put it in. And so we're going to send out a mailer light to our whole base and ask people to do the character letters, and certainly targeting all of the nearly 700 people who wrote them. If you can video yourself saying it, that would be powerful. We will post it on the website of Hands Off Uhuru. So let's go through some of these, Dr. Aisha.
Uhuru. So first we want to start with a really powerful statement from Comrade Betty Davis of the New Abolitionists. So Comrade Betty is up first.
Greetings. Upon thinking of what to write in support of the character of Omali Yeshitela, I am struck by the words of Thomas Jefferson. Timid men prefer the calm of despotism to the tempestuous sea of liberty. In addition, I would also like to use another of his quotes. I would rather be exposed to the inconvenience of attending to too much liberty than to those attending to a small degree of it. While I am acquainted with the contradictions that still surround Jefferson today, I must acknowledge that his contributions were and continue to be relevant. It is not the accusations made by the government that I want to address. I want to address what I perceive as the incredible ability and dedication of Omali Yeshitela to unite with others in his community to support community projects, the health and welfare of people wherever he goes. He has organized communities to develop bakeries, vegetarian restaurants, affordable housing for the formerly incarcerated, and birthing clinics. This being the case, I am devastated that it could be inferred that Omali Yeshitela is anything other than a true patriot. Many of his actions on behalf of his community are templates for the democracy that Jeffersonians heralded. He insists on community projects by the community, for the community, and of the community. I do not understand why encouraging people to improve their community by holding community leaders accountable to improving their local community education institutions or insisting on their utilizing government funds appropriately is an act of treason. As this tragic drama unfolds, I am amazed at how much it parallels so many quotes from Jefferson regarding the importance of respecting liberty and human rights. Omali Yeshitela's main contribution has been to empower and to encourage his fellow citizens to create and enhance community projects that would interdict poverty. I sincerely hope at a time when the statistics on homelessness and infant mortality rates are on the increase in our community that Omali Yeshitela has done so much in this area of work that it will not be inferred that this makes him a traitor. Sincerely, Betty Davis, New Abolitionist Movement, Black is Back Coalition.
Uhuru, what a great statement by Sister Betty Davis. Really powerful. Just an incredible testament to the many decades of work that Chairman Omali Yeshitela has done, on behalf of the African nation and winning others, to support that. So I just really want to appreciate that statement by Sister Betty Davis. Next, we're going to hear from Comrade Ward Churchill. Is that right, Comrade Penny?
Yes, absolutely. We're always honored to have with us the revolutionary professor, author, and activist Ward Churchill, who's been a member of the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition from the beginning. Really appreciate him, Uhuru.
Judge Young, my name is Ward Churchill. I am 77 years of age, a retired professor of American Indian Studies and chair of the Department of Ethnic Studies at the University of Colorado at Boulder. I've published more than 20 books, several in translation, and well over 200 articles and book chapters. I am also a life member of Vietnam Veterans Against the War, was a member of the original Rainbow Coalition in Chicago, and was part of the Leadership Council of the American Indian Movement of Colorado AIM, until moving to Atlanta in 2012. I have known Omali Yeshitela since the mid-1980s and have known of him since shortly after returning from Vietnam in 1969, when he was still known as Joe Waller. During the decades that have elapsed since our first encounter, my career as an academic and author, as well as my activism, has led to my participation in various seminars, conferences, and other such activities organized by Omali's African People's Socialist Party, or APSP, and the International People's Democratic Uhuru movement. I have also published material in the APSP's Burning Spear newspaper, while Omali and I have repeatedly been invited to share a dais as speakers at universities and social fora in both the U.S. and Canada. Suffice it to say that throughout this entire period, I have found Omali's intellectual output to be penetrating, complex, and profound, yet whether delivered orally or in his 13 books and hundreds of articles, invariably framed in a manner that is readily understandable to people residing at the grassroots. No less importantly, in my view, although he has continuously updated and sought to perfect his articulations, Omali has proven himself undeviating in his adherence to the bedrock principles he's been advancing since at least as early as 1972. That is, anti-imperialism, anti-colonialism, anti-racism, self-determination, community self-sufficiency, and participatory democracy. These, I submit, are all elements of international law, and I know of no one who has been more consistent in asserting them than Omali Yeshitela. Without purporting to have agreed with him at every point along the way, far from it, in fact, I must say that the stimulation I've experienced as a result of Omali's intellectual production would undoubtedly have compelled my ongoing engagement with him. The more so since Omali's theorizing has never been offered as a mere abstraction, but has been applied to the ASP's and Uhuru movement's community organizing efforts in various inner cities around the country, notably in St. Petersburg, Florida, Oakland, California, and St. Louis, Missouri, but elsewhere as well, and thus subjected to testing under real-world conditions. Despite their having been resource poor, faced with strong opposition from local elites, and subject to outright physical repression, these efforts have in each case generated tangible material, psychological, and socio-political benefits to the impoverished and disempowered communities at issue. It has been said to me by an 83-year-old veteran of the civil rights movement that Omali is the only member of his generation who has continued the struggle mounted by Black liberation movement in the terms by which it was defined at its inception. Others of that steadily dwindling cohort have agreed. These opinions were without exception voiced as a signification of respect. That Omali remains fully active in these endeavors at 82 years of age is quite remarkable in the estimation of this near 80-year-old commentator. That he stayed the course for well over a half century without opting at any point to personally enrich himself or take a more comfortable station in life is more striking still. How one is to assess the integrity of an individual is obviously ambiguous. Yet no matter how one approaches the question as regards Omali, it seems to me that he can only be adjudged as a man imbued with integrity of the highest order, an attribute to which must be added his honesty and unswerving commitment to humanity. On balance, I can only conclude that Omali Yeshitela is far more deserving of commendation than condemnation. That he should now find himself facing a possible 5-year prison sentence for conspiring to do what he was acquitted of doing is a situation too bizarre for words. It is my understanding that there is no minimum penalty applicable to the charge at hand, and that you exercise complete discretion in sentencing. I therefore urge you to impose the most lenient possible sentence upon this defendant. Thank you.
Uhuru.
Uhuru, Uhuru, what an incredible statement.
Yes.
That's just incredible. I just really want to salute that that powerful. In many ways, I feel it was like a summation of who the chairman has been, not only to the African nation, but to other, colonized people and their struggle for freedom. And I just really think that was just such a powerful historical document. That's how I see that statement from Comrade Ward Churchill. We're going to go to our last statement for this webinar, and that's going to come from our comrade Lisa Davis, who is the vice chair of the Black is Back Coalition, a really powerful revolutionary comrade, and just look forward to hearing her presentation and her statement next.
My name is Lisa Davis. I live in New Jersey and have been knowing Chairman Omali Yeshitela for over 16 years, and am asking you to apply the most lenient sentencing possible. Chairman Omali Yeshitela is one of the most honest, sincere, compassionate, and principled people that I know and have ever worked with. I have been a member of the Black is Back Coalition since its inception, and I can say with every fiber in my body that it has been an absolute pleasure working side by side with the chairman. The coalition consists of organizations throughout the country that share a similar vision for bringing peace and justice to our world, and it also has international reach. It is a remarkable feat of the chairman's stewardship that this coalition has accomplished so much and continues to thrive, considering its membership is spread all throughout the country. And although at least 1,000 miles exist between he and I feel as if we live right next door to each other, as he always makes himself available to me whenever I need to speak with him, as he promptly returns my calls. Whenever I have heard about issues involving social injustices in other parts of the country, I have always been able to reach out to him to ask him to put me in touch with people in the area, and have thus been able to organize events to support the cause. And many times it has been with people whom I have yet to even meet. I have had the empowering experience of witnessing him concretize his visions, of witnessing him lay forth a clear plan of action, and then seeing it come to fruition. One such empowering example of that is the economic development spearheaded by the Uhuru movement in St. Louis, Missouri, and their Black Power Blueprint. When the Black is Back Coalition had its first meeting in St. Louis in 2015, we met in the space of a building that we rented from an organization in St. Louis. But soon thereafter, I heard about the plans to build the Uhuru House in the poorest area of St. Louis via the Black Power Blueprint. I saw the blueprint for the designs. I saw the raising of the 25-foot red, black, and green flag, our symbol of Black liberation in the community in that area. That flag shines like a beacon of hope for everyone who sees it. And then I saw the completion of the Uhuru House. All of this happened within approximately a 3-year time span. I have since witnessed the establishment of the community gardens, a beautiful basketball court for the youth, the opening of an apartment fourplex complex for people who are released from prison, and the establishment of a doula program for the Black community to help combat the high maternity mortality rates for Black women in St. Louis. I have been so inspired by the leadership of Omali Yeshitela and the work of the Uhuru movement that I have decided to join other organizations within the Uhuru movement, such as the African National Women's Organization and the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. And one of the things that most impresses me about working within the Uhuru movement is the attention and training giving towards having respect for one another, and how to properly handle disagreements that we might encounter. I have attended workshops and trainings under the chairman's leadership that focus on internal communications that emphasize the value of self-criticism and mutual respect. No other community organization that I have worked with has ever had those kind of trainings, which are essential to building good relationships and strong community support. There is so much more I could say, but one of the things that stands out sharply to me is the amount of people that I have seen during his travels who are familiar with the chairman and who have been influenced by his work. When he comes to Newark, New Jersey to speak, the venue is always filled with community activists who have known of him for a very long time. In fact, the first reference that I have ever heard of his work with reparations in the 1980s came from Dr. Leonard Jeffries, a retired CUNY University professor. In 2018, he was asking me about the availability of video copies of the Reparations Tribunal that the chairman held in 1982 in Brooklyn. I have heard from various formerly incarcerated people who have told me how the writings of the chairman greatly influenced them while they were incarcerated. In closing, I just have to emphasize that it is an honor to work under the leadership of Omali Yeshitela, a leadership that is so desperately needed during these troubled times. Uhuru.
Wow.
Uhuru, what a great statement from Comrade Lisa Davis. We just want to again thank everybody who's already submitted their video statements. We want to still, call on people to, consider videotaping your statement. We want to show those in future webinars. I want to just continue to appreciate the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Deputy Chair Onezene Yeshitela, and this incredible, webinar that we've had today, summing up the victory of Comrade Leonard Peltier coming home. So it's been an honor to participate in this segment. I'll turn it back over to you, Comrade Penny.
Uhuru, thank you so much, Dr. Aisha Fields. And that was so moving. And as she said, we will be playing more of those. And we will be sending out an email this coming week to tell you how to do it. Uhuru, I see Comrade Soliana is on.
Yeah, I just really want to reiterate that I think it was so amazing to hear all of those, letters read out loud, just to see how, profoundly the movement and the leaders of the movement have touched just so many people, organizers, across the political spectrum. So I just want to, really express my appreciation again for everyone who took the time to write these powerful letters and record them. And yeah, we will send out, information on how to do just that in the next few days. So definitely stay tuned. I also want to, salute the new folks who have donated since our last announcement. So I want to go ahead and salute Comrade Johan, who gave $100, and I also want to salute Comrade Ruby, who gave 30, bringing our goal or the amount we raised to $630. So thank you so much, comrades. Uhuru. And again, you can donate at handsoffuhuru.org/donate, and our chat moderators will be putting that in the chat so we can go ahead and get that to you, comrades. I believe up next we have Comrade Chair Jesse of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, who will be giving us a report, a refresher update on the legal status of the case. So Uhuru, Jesse, welcome.
Uhuru, Comrade Soliana, thank you so much. And of course, Uhuru to Chairwoman Penny Hess, and salute to Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Deputy Chair Onezene Yeshitela, and also Chair Mwezi Odom, the chair of the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition. And I just want to start by saluting Leonard Peltier, the struggle of the indigenous people, and say victory to Leonard Peltier, down with colonialism. And I will be talking about the appeal and the status of the ongoing political and legal fight back against this assault on the Uhuru 3, the Uhuru movement, and African people, and free speech itself. And I want to just say that I want to thank everybody who's donated so far. And my goal is that by the end of my statement here, people will be so excited about this appeal that we will have raised the $2,000 that is our goal for today. So while I'm talking, go to handsoffuhuru.org/donate and continue to donate. So first of all, as I try to do anytime I'm asked to speak about the legal status of our case, I want to begin by quoting what I consider to be the 3 golden rules of Chairman Omali Yeshitela's African Internationalist School of Law, which is number 1, law is the opinion of the ruling class. 2, the colonizers create the law, but colonialism is illegitimate. And 3, if you are in a fight against a seemingly invincible enemy, you fight that enemy by making it fight itself. So salute to Chairman Omali Yeshitela for these profound understandings. And keep all of that in mind as we talk about where we're at with the appeal. So first, I want to bring you back to September and December of last year. The trial of the Uhuru 3 that was held in Tampa, Florida, was a profound political victory for African people, for colonized people, and for all people who believe in freedom of speech. And thanks to the tremendous support and power of the people, on September 12th, 2024, the chairman and the Uhuru 3 were acquitted, found not guilty of the main charge of being Russian agents, which was a serious blow to the United States government's political objective of discrediting and delegitimizing the African liberation struggle. And as the chairman said when he stood on the steps of the courthouse that day, they were unable to prove that the Uhuru movement works for anybody except for Black people. As you know, we were also unjustly convicted under a bogus charge of conspiracy, a manufactured thought crime, alleging that somehow the Uhuru 3 had conspired to be Russian agents for 7 years without ever actually getting around to doing it. The conviction carried a maximum prison sentence of 5 years and a fine of $250,000 each for each of the Uhuru 3. And the prosecutors sought the harshest sentence against Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the leader of the African Liberation Movement and the primary target of this attack. So on December 16th, in Tampa, Florida, as you saw in the video earlier today, we returned to the federal court for our sentencing hearing. Hundreds of amazing supporters packed the courtroom and flooded into the halls of the courthouse, and our demand was not 1 day in prison for the Uhuru 3. And we recently got the transcripts from the sentencing hearings, so I have the exact quotes of William Jung, the judge. I just wanted to share with you. So on that day, in the room packed with all of our supporters, District Judge William F. Jung said the following words. He said, quote, "Everybody is getting probation, no fine, and community service, which obviously you can do upside down on your head, because that's what you do. There is no fine. There are no sentencing guidelines here. I don't think a fine is appropriate. The purpose of a fine is to punish." So he's giving a sentence, and he's saying a fine is not appropriate because that's a punishment. Y'all can probably just raise the money to pay for the fine anyway, he said. So I don't find any reason to give you a fine. Think about that when you go to handsoffuhuru.org/donate. So this followed statements made by Jung a week earlier at the sentencing of Augustus Romaine, who was also convicted on the same conspiracy charge. On that day, referring to the entire case, he said, "Everything they did here was political speech. And there is a really wide breadth you have to give to political speech or it gets chilled." Sounds like our motion for dismissal filed by Leonard Goodman. Erring on the side of where is that line, it ought to be drawn really wide. In response to the prosecutor, Daniel Marcet, desperately trying to convince the judge that the chairman and the Uhuru movement had caused serious harm to the United States with their words, Jung made this very interesting statement. He said, "Well, harming the US, well, that's a perception. I think if what Mr. Yeshitela was advocating all happened, what they say, it would harm what I understand to be the US, but that is political speech. They are allowed to say all that. No one went and burnt down a draft office. It wasn't like the nuns who broke into the nuclear office and hit the missiles with hammers or anything like that. No one was injured. Nothing was damaged. There was no espionage, no state secrets," end quote. So once Jung finished his statement on December 16th, attorney Addie Griffin turned around and thanked all of the supporters on behalf of Chairman Omali Yeshitela And Jung stood up and walked out of that courtroom for the last time. And before the door even closed behind him, the room erupted into cheers and applause and a resounding chant that shook the walls of that courthouse. Not one day, not one dime. And once again, the chairman stood on the steps of that courthouse in front of the media and said, not one day, not one dime, not yet Uhuru. And that's where we want to talk about the appeal. I also want to mention that we were sent, right after that press conference, we went to the probation office, and we were, as people know, sentenced to 3 years of probation, 300 hours of community service, required to submit monthly reports, and request permission to travel. So what comes next is our appeal. And I want to say that thanks to all of the donations and contributions, Hands Off Uhuru has retained the magnificent legal team, Patty Griffin, Tom Inskeep, Angela Rainey, Leonard Goodman, and Mutaki Akbar, to take on this historic appeal to get this bogus conspiracy conviction overturned. And we are continuing to raise funds to pay the balance on those retainer fees, which is part of what you're contributing to when you go to handsoffahuru.org/donate. So we just received notice from the court literally 2 days ago that the appeal brief is due on April 14th. The appeal will go to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, and many issues will be raised in the appeal brief. But one of the most important is the First Amendment, the question of free speech. And I think that's something that it's important for us to understand. The appeal is not just saying that our conviction is overturned because we were innocent. The appeal is saying more than that. The appeal is saying that for this trial to have taken place in the first place was a violation of the First Amendment and the right to freedom of speech, which is the point that Leonard Goodman made in his motion for dismissal from day one, that the indictment itself was a violation of the First Amendment. And even if everything the US government had alleged against the Uhuru movement were true, which of course none of it was, but even if it were, it was unconstitutional and illegal for them to charge criminal charges because everything they accused the Uhuru movement of doing was free speech, constitutionally protected by the First Amendment. So the anti-colonial free speech question is alive and well in the struggle to win this appeal. And it's not just our conviction that hangs in the balance, it's free speech itself that hangs in the balance in the ongoing political and legal fight back to get this conviction overturned. So I just wanted to give a few more updates before stepping aside here. And the chairman always reminds us that none of this legal stuff happens in a vacuum. And it all happens in a political context. And the political context is continuing to develop rapidly in this period. And I know the chairman will be saying more about this, but I just wanted to give some updates on some political developments that we believe will have serious implications for how the struggle continues to unfold. And as the chairman says, all of these things may show that the political foundation of the charges against the Uhuru movement continue to crumble every single day. So on February 5th of this year, Donald Trump's newly appointed Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who's out of Florida, where the trial of the Uhuru 3 took place, she issued a memo to the Department of Justice stating that the Department of Justice would be no longer prosecuting people under 951, the law used against the Uhuru 3, or the Foreign Agent Registration Act, unless they were accused of espionage. And I want to remind you of Jung's words, there was no espionage in the case of the Uhuru 3. So in other words, the same law the Biden administration used to attempt to put Chairman Omali Yeshitela in prison, the new Department of Justice is saying they wouldn't use the law to charge someone unless it was espionage. So what better example can you have for what the chairman says, that law is the opinion of the ruling class? Furthermore, Roger Hanberg, you may remember Roger Hanberg from July 29th, 2022, when the raids happened. Roger Hanberg, the U.S. attorney for the Middle District of Florida, stood in a press conference in the St. Petersburg police station and announced this bogus investigation of the Uhuru movement, while Director Akile and I stood on the steps right outside and gave an electrifying presentation denouncing the raids to the local bourgeois media. Roger Hanberg is out of a job, okay? Trump fired all the Biden-era federal prosecutors, but Hanberg was the first to go. So we also recently learned, this is new information, okay, Pam Bondi, so there was something created under the Biden administration, Department of Justice under Merrick Garland, called the Klepto Capture Task Force. Okay. And this was a task force to enforce sanctions against Russia. The co-director of the Klepto Capture Task Force is Menno Goodman, who was one of the prosecutors in the prosecution of the Uhuru 3, working with Daniel Marcet. Pam Bondi has disbanded the Klepto Capture Task Force. They also disbanded the Foreign Influence Task Force that was created to carry out cases exactly like this one. So all of this is happening as we move forward with our appeal. And the last update I want to give you is that last week, Alexander Ionov hired an attorney named George Lambert in Sunny Isles, Florida, to represent him in the ongoing case against him. And George Lambert filed a motion with the court to compel the prosecution to turn over discovery materials to him, which so far they have refused to do. And Lambert's motion makes clear that he is intending to seek a dismissal of the charge against Ionov based on the fact that the new administration has a different interpretation of this law, and two, that the outcome of the trial of the Uhuru 3, as he put it, was short of complete dismissal, where we were acquitted on the main charge and then sentenced to 0 minutes in prison on the conspiracy charge. So we will continue to keep everyone informed as the situation unfolds, but what is clear is that the Uhuru 3 case continues to be at the vanguard of the anti-colonial free speech struggle, and the appeal is extremely, extremely important. And we want everybody to continue to see this appeal as your appeal, as the people's appeal to fight for anti-colonial free speech and make history so that the victory of the Uhuru 3 becomes a political precedent, as the chairman says, that when the people fight back, the people win. And it becomes a legal precedent. It becomes case law that can be cited by future freedom fighters when they go up against the colonial state, repression, and counterinsurgency. So we call on all lawyers, legal workers, law students, and others to join the Hands Off Uhuru Legal Defense Support Committee. Let's build the campaign to repeal the foreign agents and conspiracy laws. And I close by quoting something Addie Griffin said in a meeting recently. She said, "No time, no dime, no crime." So let's win the appeal and make history. Uhuru.
Uhuru, Chair Jesse, thank you so much. You know, it's always a pleasure to hear you give a very clear summation of the legal aspects of this case in a very, informative, but also humorous and engaging way. So thank you so much, Chair Jesse, our future African internationalist lawyer. So salute in Uhuru. And, speaking of the appeal, I want to salute some more of the comrades who have donated since we last spoke. So salute Lisa Watson, our amazing Zoom engineer, who donated $25, and as well as our fearless leadership, Chair Mwezi, who donated $100, bringing our total donated to $775 with $12.45 remaining. So thank you so much, comrades. And again, I just want to remind folks, you can still donate. So go ahead and go to handsoffuhuru.org/donate. So up next, comrades, it is my absolute honor to invite Chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, Omali Yeshitela, for his summation. Uhuru, Chairman.
Uhuru. Uhuru. First of all, I really want to express my appreciation to you, Comrade Soliana. There are many people who are participating in this discussion today who are not aware of the tremendous work, all of the work that you do. And we've been applauding you from around the world for this latest issue of the Burning Spear, the lead article that you were responsible for, the piece that was done on the halftime of the Super Bowl. It's just quite brilliant, extraordinary. So I want to thank you very much for the introduction and for all of the work that you do. Also, I have to join everyone in saluting the freedom of Leonard Peltier as it is. I can't say too much about just the horror of colonial domination that it liquidates or attempts to the humanity of the colonized. Everything that about the colonized is something that is cruelly oppressed, liquidated. We heard, I think, Comrade Lenny talk about how, they making the indigenous people unlearn their language. That's something that we are familiar with as Africans, who are in this country as well. The punishment for not speaking what they call good English and the humiliation that our young people experience, and based on that kind of stuff. And there are no rules when it comes to punishing the colonized people. There are no rules. And not only are there no rules, generally speaking, there is no opprobrium. There's no within the general settler, colonizer population, there is no expectation that there has to be rules dealing with us who are colonized. Nobody even mentions the indigenous people unless they're in the room, unless a massive movement such as that revolving around Leonard Peltier at this moment, or the other struggles that occur from time to time. The indigenous people don't even get mentioned. It's like the indigenous people are not there. They have been disappeared, living and stuck in concentration camps as if that were a normal condition of existence. So I feel like it was important, to say that. Also, when we talk about the overt acts that the government charged us with as crimes, that's one thing. You people are kind of familiar with that, but there's been no discussion. The judge, for everything he has to say, and Pam Bondi for everything she has to say that sounds favorable, there's no mention of the fact that they burned our flag in St. Petersburg, Florida, at the Uhuru House, a 15 by 25-foot flag. There's no mention sitting on a 50-foot flagpole. There's no mention of the fact that they burned the church that we were in the process of purchasing to put economic development programs down here in the city of St. Louis. There's no mention of the fact that they broke into vehicles and stole computers and passports of people, that they arrested one person outside the Uhuru House here in St. Louis and held him for 2 weeks. The bogus charge of uttering some kind of terrorist threats. There's no mention of any of that, of any of the fact that these institutions, these banks, try to shut us down, that they refuse to, in many instances, some instances where we had accounts for more than 20 years. There's no mention of how they demanded that within 2 weeks we give them $80,000 or $90,000, in terms of a loan that we had attained from them. None of that stuff is mentioned. But all of these things happen to us, and it's important to say that because it's important to help people recognize that when we talk about anti-colonial free speech, it is a serious kind of political act because the free speech of the colonized challenges the legitimacy of colonialism itself. And this is something that cannot be tolerated by the system. And this is part of the reason we can say that not yet Uhuru. I remind people occasionally, 1831, when Nat Turner struck out. Now, Nat Turner in the Tidewater area of Virginia, he led a struggle to overturn colonial slavery and to kill the slave masters. It was a valid struggle. Slavery should be overturned, and those who try to defend it and keep human beings locked up under this horrible servitude that they've characterized as slavery should be killed. I mean, there's no, how can that be characterized as offensive on the one hand, or criminal on the one hand, when the United States engages in wars all around the world, with sometimes the assumption that a white woman has been insulted in Congo or in Grenada or some other place that becomes the basis for making war against whole populations, et cetera. It's ridiculous. You cannot defend slavery. And what they are talking about is even fabricated concepts of people being enslaved. How can they even talk about that, given what they have done to African people? How did African people even get to Grenada for that to be, some criminal activity that they were engaged in? So I just wanted to say that, and I think it's important to mention H. Rap Brown was my chair at one juncture in Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And I've heard either this morning or sometime last night that he has stage 4 cancer. Many people in this discussion today know that Brown, who's been in prison now for a number of years and had developed this huge thing on his face, and we had to go through a real struggle to get them to even make some kind of medical care available to him, and they refused for the longest period of time. And now, I'm hoping that it's not true that he's experiencing this stage 4 cancer, but if it is true, the government facilitated that. Then how many others have they murdered who were imprisoned? And this is not just peculiar to the United States. We know what happened with Toussaint Louverture, who the French captured, and after tricking him into believing they were going to negotiate, and put him on a boat and then took him to France and on a mountain, and where they imprisoned him in freezing conditions, and he froze to death. And even as I was talking about the question of Nat Turner, who made this incredible struggle in 1831, and something like a month or so after the rebellion had been defeated, Nat Turner was captured, and believe it or not, they took him to trial. This is 1831. This is a time where colonial slavery was still legal in the United States. They took him to trial, and when they took him to trial, they found him guilty. And the thing is that this is the system. This is a system that tried Leonard Peltier. This is the system that Biden talks about. Biden defends with giving some approximation of a pardon to Leonard Peltier on his way out the door. And of course, this is the same system. But if in fact Nat Turner had been found not guilty, he would not have been free, because he still lived under colonial domination. And that's true of Leonard Peltier. And when you talk about Joe Biden, this is the same guy who sent the military at us at 5 o'clock in the morning, pre-dawn raids right here. This is the guy who even resisted simple kinds of reform with like a civil rights bill, who even resisted simple kinds of support for this concept of busing, because he didn't want his children to go to a school in a jungle. So this is colonialism that we're talking about, and it has no legitimacy. It is absolutely illegitimate. The colonizers makes the law. Joe Biden participated in making the law in the Senate, and Joe Biden participated as in the executive branch. And Joe Biden is the one who made the law that resulted in, we don't know how many people killed in the streets of this country, that people have been protesting about now with the so-called omnibus crime bill and things like that. So we're looking at a system that is created on colonial domination of indigenous people, African people, et cetera, and that makes the laws that justifies this relationship, that creates institutions that tries to that function as apologists for this, and trains people to accept this, and also to colonize ourselves. And we looked at I was just reading the other day how we knew this, 97% of the people who go to trial, like we do when the feds indict 97%, they have a 97% conviction rate, 97%. And that's the feds. And the state courts have a 94% conviction rate. And that is because the majority of the people who go to these courts do plea deals. They do plea deals because the state terrorizes them. They say, if you don't take this deal that we're giving you, then we're going to give you life. We're going to give you 50 years. We're going to give you all these things. This whole concept of people having due process and the right to be tried by a jury of their peers and things like that is absolutely untrue. And this is the stuff that we live with. When we talk about the colonial mode of production and what happens to us, this is not some fantasy. This is not some debating points that we're trying to make. This is the life of human beings, the life of the Africans, the life of the Mexicans, the Mexican people, the life of other indigenous people in concentration camps right now, sometimes in public view, or sometimes, if not in public view, people are conscious or aware of the existence of so-called Indian reservations. People even like to purchase the jewelry from the Indian reservations and things like that. That's the reality that we live with, and it is normal. And what Leonard Peltier has done is abnormal. And what I have done for most of my life is abnormal from their perspective, and that is to fight back, to resist, and say we will not live like this, that you don't have a president that's nice enough, good enough, sweet enough, or a Congress that can legitimately, or court that can legitimately endorse our enslavement and humiliation of our people. So anyway, that's part of what it is that I wanted to say. And also, it's a really extraordinary moment in history right now that we're experiencing. And part of what makes it extraordinary is what helps to expose it for many people was the election of Donald Trump. And the first time in 2016. And in 2016, when Donald Trump was elected, it was apparent fluke. And in fact, the Democratic Party and many of the people connected to the Democratic Party denied that Trump won the election. They were election deniers, led by Hillary Clinton, who was the candidate for president in the struggle with Donald Trump. She said it was the Russians who did it. And I'm saying this in part because one of the things they charged Trump with is being an election denier. It was Clinton and the whole Democratic Party. That was how they came out of the box, saying that it wasn't Trump didn't win, it was Russia, 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 Russia. That was what they said. Clinton is the one who led with the kind of charges that we are confronted with now. Clinton is the one who talked about the Russians electing Trump, et cetera. So I just think that's really something important to recognize and to remember. And of course, all of that was cast into the trash heap with Trump's 2020 victory over Kamala Harris. And so here Trump gets elected in 2020. They had said this is going to be a long waiting game. We don't know how long it's going to take before we can tally all the votes, et cetera, et cetera. It didn't take that long. I mean, the victory was so complete that it was hard for them to take that long. And so are they saying the Russians did this too? No, they're not saying the Russians did it this time, right? But if the Russians, if the Russians were responsible in 2016 for the election, then what the hell happened? Why would they stop? I mean, if they've found out how to do this thing so effectively, why would they stop in 2020? Of course, it's just bogus what they did in 2016. So, but what has transpired is that what has been happening, so many things, but one thing is so important and was given really helped to punctuate this moment in history was the attack that they made on the Uhuru 3, on the African People's Socialist Party. The African Revolution is what they attacked. And the charges that they dropped on us were charges that revolved around the fact that we have interfered with this comfortable narrative that they've created over the last period after they killed Malcolm and killed King and destroyed the Black Panther Party and what have you. So there was not this obvious struggle against colonialism, against white power dominating Black people. This was not there. And so this is the thing that we, were dealing with. So that was one thing that made it different, because the party was built of the premise that we're going to complete that revolution of the 1960s. We were quite clear that the movement had moved into a really incredibly significant point, moved from the civil rights era and into a question of anti-colonial struggle. That was what Black Power was all about. I was a part of the Black Power movement. And even though there were people who were born of that process, the project, many of them even went to jail. Many of them didn't know why the hell they went to jail or what it was all about. They were engaged in struggle because the 1960s was a moment of exciting anti-colonial struggle. So you did it not because you had necessarily had some kind of ideological understanding, because that was the current that people were thrust into in terms of history. And so there are many people who are out there, and they earned their spurs, so to speak, based on the fact that they were active during that period, even without necessarily understanding the basis of the movement. Because you cannot judge a movement by its own consciousness, which is what people attempt to do even now. They try to base what was happening in the 1960s based on what people said they were doing, why they were there, etc. You can't judge a movement by its own consciousness. You have to be able to examine the material basis, the thing that gave rise to it in the world. And so we have done that. We have developed for 50 years, been working and developing, revolutionary theory to help understand this, because we felt that was critically important, because otherwise you don't know why you're fighting. You don't even know if you won, when you won. What is victory if there's no to what end? If there's no theory that guides, what in the hell is victory? Victory can be presumed to be, as I saw it, the election of Obama. Who was one of the biggest proponents of colonialism, who was one of the biggest servants of white power that we've had to deal with. Victory can be perceived as Kamala Harris, who's the vice president, who's now the first Negress vice president, who is now running for president. This can be characterized as victory. And fact of the matter is that they were able to be successful and perceived in such a fashion because the real revolution had been crushed and could not contend in those spaces that they were moving in to achieve this appearance of victory. So our struggle is for self-determination, to be a free people, is to be self-governing. And that's what the African People's Socialist Party has been about. That's what the theory that I've worked on and developed this long period of time. That's what the tactics and strategy. What is your strategy for liberation? Well, if the only thing you're trying to do is fight against racism, then you've already won that one. Kamala is there. Obama was there. You've got a Negro sellout who's in the Senate in your area. You've got a Negro sellout who's in your city council, board of alderpersons where you are. So you won that if racism was the only thing. But colonialism is the issue. And because the oppressor will help you to move against racism that prevents a Negro from participating in the colonial domination of the rest of African people. And that's the thing that we're looking at. So I was appreciative of the statements that were made by Comrade Leonard Peltier. The statements that he made, because when we began doing this work, we were quite clear that what the government was attempting to do was the same thing that they did in the Middle East. They would say that it's a war against Hamas. And they say that, and what they're doing is a war against Palestine. It's to crush the existence of Palestine and to even criminalize the acknowledgement of Palestine and the defense of Palestine. That's what that was about. And what they tried to do with Leonard Peltier, especially after the defeat of the Black Revolution of the 1960s, they wanted to make this case just about Leonard Peltier and whether he killed an FBI agent or not. And we're saying that this is a struggle that's been going on now for centuries. This was the struggle of the indigenous people on their own land, fighting foreign interlopers who are settlers, who are colonizing the people, who created a law that justified being able to keep the people living in a state of domination. So that's been what we've said all along. And that's what we pushed even as we began to do the work. And when we heard Leonard Peltier, after his release, make the statement that that he's still in the struggle, that he will be struggling until the nation is free, the Lakota, the nation of the indigenous people, is liberated. That's what he said. And that was really powerful. That was really important. That's the colonial struggle. He talked about colonialism. That's what we've been saying all along. He didn't talk about racism, colonialism. Racism, struggle against racism is something that would allow them, Biden, to put an indigenous woman over the Department of Interior. How does it characterize on the one hand, but still keep Peltier locked up in prison and still keep the oppression, exploitation. I've been on those reservations. I was at Big Mountain. I saw how the white Mormons, how they dominated it, what kind of economic life they had there in many instances, the disrespect that they demonstrated against the indigenous people, etc. And that was important to us. And I'm just saying that a reference for that for us was the work that we did in the 1970s to free Desi Woods. And Desi Woods was an African woman who, in I think around 1975 or so, was arrested in Georgia. And she was arrested in Georgia after she and her friend Cheryl Todd had gone to Reesville Prison to see Cheryl Todd's brother. And upon arrival, as occurs so often, they were not able to visit the prison. They had no money then. They had to find a way to get back to Atlanta, Georgia. So they began hitchhiking. They were picked up by a white man named Ronnie Horn. And Ronnie Horn gave them a lift. And he had, one of these radios in the car. And he had a pistol on the dashboard. And he told them he was a cop. And then they got in the car with Ronnie Horn, and Horn took them to some wooded area and got on the Horn with his buddy. A buddy called a buddy and told him to meet him there because he had these two black women and he was going to rape them. It's going to be a party. And Desi Woods fought him. And she took his gun and she shot him with his own gun. And Desi Woods was arrested later, Cheryl Todd, and the trial happened, and people, feminists, the petty bourgeoisie at this time, this one manifestation of the petty bourgeoisie trying to define what our struggle is about, and this whole feminists, white feminists in particular, feminists who were talking about the struggle around Desi, free Desi, because of something about a woman's right to defend herself. And our slogan was free Desi Woods, smash colonial violence. Because what happened to Desi Woods happened to her as a colonial subject, as a black woman colonial subject. When it's really important, because before Desi Woods, there was a case of this woman, Joanne Little, in North Carolina. When she was in prison and the sheriff, they came to her cell one day, and the sheriff in this small city was dead. He had been killed with an ice pick, and ejaculate was all over the place. His pants was down around his ankles, and he had tried to rape Joanne Little, and she had killed him in self-defense, in defending herself. But this is colonial stuff. This is what they do. They put these African women, they use African women. And so the wife of the sheriff said they know. She knew that he wasn't trying to rape her because he don't even like black people. that was the line that you put out. So we say free Desi, smash colonial violence. We said that what happened to Desi was part of the national oppression of African people, and she fought back. That's the basis, and that's what Leonard Peltier just said too. Free the nation. Said we're not free, and that's what we said when we went to trial too. That this is not about freeing me. It's about the question of its attack on the whole African movement, the whole African nation, the right for African people not to be living under colonial domination. So I just wanted to say those things, and I hope by now people have forgiven me for the length of this presentation and will prove it by giving the amount of money that we need, we're trying to raise right now. So, I want to thank everybody for being here with us. It's been an extraordinary movement, extraordinary moment, and we believe that Leonard Peltier should be free,
Yes.
genuinely free, and the indigenous people have to be free as well. Uhuru.
Uhuru, Chairman, thank you so much for that powerful presentation that lets us really understand colonialism and the reason why the world is the way it is today. So, and what the struggle of African and Indigenous people are. So, Chairman, we are going to bring up Comrade Amanda, who's going to talk about raising the money that we need for our appeal.
Oh, she's not going to tell us that we've already succeeded in making our goal.
Maybe she's going to tell us that.
Uhuru.
Thank you again, Chairman Omali Yeshitela.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to let the AV team pull up our slideshow, but just want to really appreciate this event so far. Salute to Lenny Foster and Don Lawson, who spoke earlier on behalf of Leonard Peltier. Salute the chairman, who we just heard from. And a salute, of course, to Leonard Peltier himself. You know, we did say not one more year, and this is just a tremendous victory for this campaign. And as the chair of the fundraising committee, it's an honor to be here today. I'm also a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, organizing in the white community for reparations to African people under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. And I want to unite with the slogan of this event today, which was victory to Leonard Peltier, down with colonialism. And the words of Leonard Peltier perfectly convey the spirit of why it's so important to continue to fight to win this appeal for the Uhuru 3 and to defeat this bogus conspiracy conviction of the chairman, Penny Hess, and Jesse Neville. And as Leonard Peltier said, we won and we will continue to win. So we can go to the next slide here. So as was stated, our goal today is to raise $2,000. So I do just want to thank everyone who's already contributed towards our goal. I'm just going to read through those names, some of which we've already said, but we have Jesse, who gave 100. I just want to say that Jesse challenged people to match him to also give 100. We also had Dawn, who gave 20. An anonymous person heard that call and gave 100. Maureen gave 75. MQ, who we all know, gave 40. I gave 25. Allie gave 40. Penny gave 100. Johan gave 100. Ruby gave 30. Lisa W gave 25. Chamwazy gave 100. Lisa D gave 10. Janaba gave 40. MQ again gave 40. And Carla gave 30. So what we've raised so far is $875. And we have just 1,125 left to raise. So that's about 11 people matching Jesse, matching Johan, matching Penny, matching Chamwazy, and matching the anonymous person. And giving $100. So go to handsofferwho.org/donate to contribute today. We can go to the next slide here. So you can contribute online by card, directly from your bank account, PayPal, donor advised funds, crypto, stocks, Venmo, or you can also send a check made out to Hands Off Uhuru, and you can send that to 2654 Gravois Avenue in St. Louis, Missouri, 63118. You can go to the next slide here. So the funds that we're raising today, the majority of them are going towards the legal fees. We just heard from Jesse what this appeal is going to be in the next upcoming years and how important it is. And we just want to salute again attorneys Leonard Goodman and Angela Rainey, who are continuing their services pro bono for this very significant campaign. So salute to the two of them. And then we also want to salute the brilliant lawyers, Addie Griffin, Mutaki Akbar, and Tom Inskeep, who are also going to continue on this team. Next slide here. So what we have done so far, thanks to all of you, is we've paid the initial down payments for the 2 retainer agreements that we have. For Addie Griffin's office, which includes Tom Inskeep, we paid $15,000. And then for Attorney Mutaki Akbar's office, we paid the $15,000 down payment as well. So that's a huge victory. And that is what we have been able to do thanks to all of your contributions. So our next benchmark, what we want to get to, I know we want to raise $2,000 today, but do not let that limit you, because we do need to pay the other $30,000 to the retainer agreements for these 2 law offices. So we're aiming to raise this by the end of July. And of course, there will be other resources that we need and that we'll continue to raise throughout the year. But this is our next major benchmark to continue to hire this legal team. And this is very doable. 1 person can give $30,000. 2 people can get together and give $15,000 each. 3 people can give $10,000 each. And it is this important. If you're able to give these higher amounts of money, it's an incredibly significant campaign. And I'll talk about that in a second. Also, 120 people could each give $250. And I know Vice Chair Penny mentioned earlier that there's hundreds of people literally in this Hands Off Uhuru coalition, and that includes organizations who themselves may have hundreds of members. So definitely spread the word, spread this campaign. We want to definitely get these funds in. I want to appreciate Kendall, who went ahead and gave the 25. So our new total is $900, which means today we have left to raise. There's more. Jesse is typing. Sandy gave 20, and MQ yet again gave 40. So Uhuru MQ.
Uhuru MQ.
So only 960 left to go. Is that right?
1040 left to go.
1040 left to go. So we're very close to the halfway point. So keep contributing, and let's raise these funds. We can go to the next slide here. Very briefly, what does it mean to win this appeal? Jesse talked about it earlier, but the appeal will make history. It's a crucial victory for the fight for the anti-colonial free speech. And winning this case will turn it into case law that will be cited to advance all of our fight ahead. Next slide here. And as the chairman said, the precedent set by the Hands Off Uhuru is that when African and oppressed people fight back, they win. And the African working class is leading the way in showing how to resist oppression and fight for democratic rights and free speech and self-determination. So I just want to pause here. I want to see if there are any other donations. I know many people in the room have already contributed, so thank you so much for that. And then do we have, I see Penny put in her $100, so thank you. And Lisa D put in her $10 as well, so thank you for getting your pledges in. We can go to the next slide here. I do want people to continue donating, but I just want to announce some other upcoming events that we have as an opportunity to raise funds for this campaign, which this year is showing a film showing and panel discussion for the Battle of St. Pete. This is going to be Friday, March 21st. And the panel we have confirmed today includes Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Chimurenga Selambao, and Ntambwe Bekizita, who all have their own personal experience with these events after the police murder of Tyron Lewis in St. Petersburg, Florida, and the amazing heroic uprising of African people in that city. Indigo gave 25, so Uhuru Indigo. Uhuru. And you can register for this event here by going to handsoffuhuru.org/fundraiser. And then next slide here. And we also want to ask you to join the Hands Off Uhuru Fundraising Committee. One of the things that we're going to be doing as this committee is building a really exciting film festival coming up in June. We're going to have more information about this coming soon, and you could be a part of building this. It'll be in person here in St. Louis as well as hosted online. And the first meeting that we're going to have is going to be March 22nd, Saturday. And so I wrote it in my notes, but I did not change it on the slide. It's actually going to be at 10 a.m. Central. And I did put in the chat moderator doc the link to register for that. So if that can please be shared from the announcement so that people could register to attend this meeting. You can also write in the comments if you're interested in joining. So go to the next slide here. So just again, here's how to donate. You can go online to handsoffuhuru.org/donate. And you can also send a check here to St. Louis, making the check out to Hands Off Uhuru. I know we'll be going to a Q&A section soon, so please continue to donate, contribute to our goal for today. And also, if you're able to contribute more, but can't do it today, but want to be one of the 120 people doing 250, want to be one of the 3 people doing 10,000, definitely let us know. You can send us an email to info@handsoffforwho.org, and we can set up a meeting with you to figure out how we can do that. But just want to really appreciate everyone again. Last slide here, and forward to victory. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru, comrade. So Leanna, I just really want to thank you, Amanda, for that very mobilizing and successful call for resources.
Uhuru, yes, definitely want to thank everyone who has donated so far. And like Comrade Amanda said, we will have time for you guys to continue to do that. So please check the chat. You can click the link. And if you're old school, you could definitely send the check to the mail that's listed. So go ahead and please partake in that. Comrade Penny, did we want to go to Q&A or just read comments?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, let's read some of the comments and then we'll go to Q&A. And we're just about wrapping up this incredible webinar, but we do want to hear from our comrades from, who have been on today and who have something to ask or to say.
Uhuru. Yeah, so just to get some of the comments. So we have a comment from Almost Alkaline on YouTube who said, Uhuru, I'm honored to follow my father's footsteps. Salute late Dr. Biko Lumumba. We have a comment from Leon Dixon on Zoom who said, this country is built on stolen land and of the backs of stolen people. We also have a comment from Chair Mwezi on YouTube who was thanking Comrade Lenny for this message from Comrade Leonard and that we are winning. A comment from Alice Green on Zoom saying, funny how Earth trusts her most important minerals to the lands held by Indigenous, Uhuru. And then a comment from Jaribu on YouTube saying, Vanguard up, great articulation of the summary, Jesse, Uhuru. And then a comment from Kenji Granbury on Zoom saying, yes, if every person asserted their right to jury trial, the judicial system would collapse, Uhuru. And then we also have a comment from Erica on Zoom saying, the Constitution will soon include a land acknowledgement. It's all meaningless if colonialism is allowed to ruin our lives, Uhuru. And then we do have two questions. Did we want to read both or just one or?
Yeah, sure. So this is a question from Michael Smith on YouTube. He said, what exactly is Uhuru definition of true freedom and real justice for all Black people? Is it the same as mine? Yes or no? If not, why not? I'm not sure I totally understand that question. He's saying more here. Please look forward to the answer. Black worldwide domination and total rulership of this entire planet by 100% Black people only, and absolutely nothing less. Absolutely anything less is not the real. Chairman, yes, thank you for coming back up.
I want to appreciate the question and the definition by comment Michael. Is this Michael, right?
Michael.
But I want to say that we represent the interests and aspirations of the African nation as pursued by its advanced sector. The African People's Socialist Party, the working class. And the working class, African working class, has no interest in oppressing anybody except for the ruling class oppressors. And it's a problem, of course, that so many of white people or colonizers have not up to now been able to extract themselves and their aspirations from that of the ruling class. But we know it's possible for that to happen. In fact, we have created an organization that in more than 130 cities in this country they're white people, colonizers who work under our leadership, fighting for reparations as a profound form of self-criticism and attempt to unite with the aspirations of African people here and globally. And we are working in various places around the world, the objective being to capture political power. And when we say what we are fighting for in terms of freedom, and we're talking about the capture of political power. We're talking about the self-government by African people under the leadership of the African working class. When we say African people, we're talking about total, absolute, unconditional liberation of Africans and Africa and the unification of African people globally. So we want the unification of African people to happen everywhere in the world. And we're talking about this happening under the leadership of the working class. And we're talking about the total liberation and unification of Africa. Uhuru. So that's where we're coming from, Michael. But I really appreciate what you've had to offer.
Uhuru, thank you, Chairman.
Uhuru, yeah, thank you so much, Chairman. And then we do have just one more question, asking SM on YouTube, who's asking, are you also suing for legal fees and pain/suffering? This case has had negative effects and setbacks on other things under the movement, including the bakery and conference. So is that something that we're going to do as well, Uhuru?
I'm glad you mentioned the bakery. Who was that from? SM, you said?
SM. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that because it was something that we didn't talk about. I didn't talk about because that was part of the assault that was made on us in terms of economic war. It's like a whole economic warfare that they initiated against us. Obviously, it was more than just the charges that they said that we were guilty of having committed. They attacked us, our radio station in Florida. They attacked our bakery here. Resources that should have been coming to us, they make sure that we didn't get those resources for radio station, et cetera. So those things are happening, like to us. It's a full assault. They've treated us like an enemy nation or country or something like that, and which is it's an accurate characterization of how we are perceived and experienced. And it's an honest characterization as compared to what the liberals do and like to pretend that we're all in the same boat together. Perhaps that's not a dishonest statement because even in slavery, we were often in the same boat together. We were just in different locations in the boat, So that's part of it. And what else did SM raise about the question about? Yeah. And so, every day we see something that indicates that the political basis for the attack on us is something that's falling apart. And part of that was made manifest with the election of Donald Trump and the determination that's come from his administration. Of course, as you know, SM, the electoral process that we are referring to is in all the elections are simply nonviolent contests between different sectors of the ruling class for control of the state, by which we mean things like what the Trump administration is characterizing as a deep state, et cetera. But we're talking about the police department, we're talking about the court system, the FBI, CIA, we're talking about the military forces, et cetera. That's the state. And then there's soft state power in terms of things like schools, et cetera. But we also see have come to understand, I think, that even the electoral process in many ways functions as an instrument of the state. But even the bourgeois media that has always prided itself and put itself forward as this separate entity that's that's separate from the state. It's the fourth estate they'd like to characterize themselves as. So, all of those things, what we're having to struggle with and struggle against. So the possibilities of suits are real. We're going to pursue everything. There's nothing that's off the table. And again, our fight is for advancing the liberation struggle. And it's been said that this is a critical kind of struggle because it will set precedents they attempted to establish a precedent that would make it a crime for African people to criticize our treatment by the United States government. That's what the working for Russia thing was all about. So if you criticize the United States government, it's not because it's legitimate, because you're working for some foreign government or something like that. That means the United States, by that, absolves itself of any offense that it commits against African people. What are you talking about reparations? The United States hasn't done anything to you. What are you talking about the police killings? That's not really true. It's fake news as the Russians are promoting that, or they don't necessarily say it's not true, because in our case, what they said was that doesn't matter if it's true or not. If it helps our enemies for you to put it out, that's the thing that was a crime. So this is a really important case, and people should do everything they can to contribute to this, to our defense, to this appeal that we're doing. And also, it's really important for everybody to finally acknowledge that colonialism is the foundation for the whole social system that we live under. So if white people are having problems in this system, it's colonialism. That's the foundation. That's the foundation that it rests upon. And it's really important for everybody to understand that.
Uhuru, thank you so much, Chairman. And I'm sorry, I did lie earlier. We have just one more question in the Zoom that came up, so I'm just going to go ahead and read that. It's from Kenji Granberry saying, I'm curious what the chairman's thoughts are on Black nationalism and how it can be seriously engaged or enacted as a project alongside necessary recognition of Indigenous sovereignty and claims for land back. How do we advocate for open borders without reckoning with how this will impact Indigenous communities without resorting to easy or comfortable nationalisms? And I can read that again if necessary.
It's necessary.
Okay. All right. I'm curious what the chairman's thoughts are on Black nationalism and how it can be seriously engaged or enacted as a project alongside necessary recognition of Indigenous sovereignty and claims for land back. How do we advocate for open borders without reckoning with how this will impact Indigenous communities without resorting to easy or comfortable nationalisms?
Uhuru, thank you so much. Well, we are African internationalists. I want to make that point. We are internationalists. But to say that we are internationalists does not liquidate what many people characterize as the national question. What we've said is that the class question, for example, is something that is located inside the colonial question. We're talking about colonialism, we're talking about the oppression of nations by foreign nations, foreign and hostile foreign nations. That's what we're looking at. And we also recognize that we're looking at a global economy. This economy we characterize as a colonial mode of production. Which makes it easy for us. When the struggle really popped off in Nicaragua, without having met any Nicaraguans before, we jumped in, and because we recognize this is part of the whole colonial apparatus, the whole colonial setup, and that it oppresses us and keeps African people locked up. Palestinians, we've always been on the side of the Palestinians, always the Iranians, when they were living, under like this colonial domination, neo-colonial domination by the Shah of Iran, we were right there. And we were right there because we recognize that we're looking at a colonial mode of production. So the colonial mode of production is something, it's a parasitic global economy. It's not just something that affects Africans or just something that affects Mexicans, it affects the entire world. And it has a particular kind of approach, an application to African people, a particular application to indigenous people, et cetera. But when you say particular application, inside each instance, what we are talking about is the universal contradiction of the colonial mode of production. We unite with the indigenous people. We see their struggle as our struggle. We're not only fighting, we're not only a part of the African Revolution, we're a part of the Revolution of the Americas. We see that we're fighting in general terms against the same common enemy. So that these efforts to build walls, for example,
to keep the indigenous people called Mexicans and others from coming into the landmass that's characterized as the United States, they're going to be absolutely useless because you're going to have a global movement, and it's now conscious of the relationship that we have with each other. So they build a wall. We'll be fighting on the southern part of that wall to dismantle it, and we'll be fighting on the northern side of that wall to dismantle it, because we're going to have to make this revolutionary struggle together. So that's it. We're in this together, and what we will come to conclusions together about land, how land is going to be dealt with in the process of making this struggle. But what we do in the first place is we make a concession that we are not fighting for the land of the indigenous people. We are not engaged in some struggle that presumes that that this land belongs to African people because we've been here for a long time, of course we worked on cotton fields in Mississippi or something to that effect. That's the same thing that those white nationalists are doing in occupied Palestine. They claim that they came there and they improved it, and the Palestinians weren't doing anything with it anyway, so they are the ones who took it over. This is the same that the white settlers did in what was called, they named South Africa and Rhodesia and things like that. They made these bogus kinds of claims, and they were interlopers, and they were there for the purpose of stealing people's land, expropriating their land, their lives, their culture, and everything else. We are not like that. We're not going to participate in that. We're going to unite with the oppressed and colonized indigenous people here and every place else we are located, because we're going to fight. What the colonizers did when they attacked Africa and they forcibly dispersed us around the world, they dispersed the African Revolution around the world. Everywhere we are, you see that oppression, exploitation, and that's the basis for the unity that we will have with indigenous peoples throughout the land, throughout the world. I know it's a long-winded response. Was that SM that I'm speaking to?
That was Kenji.
Kenji, okay, yeah.
Uhuru, yeah, thank you. Uhuru, yeah, I think that was a really good answer, Comrade, and I hope that Comrade Kenji is also satisfied with that. But yeah, so that is the last of our questions. I do want to give some updates on the amount of money we have raised so far. So, salute Jesse, who gave another 15, and of course, salute again MQ, who gave 40, who up till now has given 200 in total just so far in this event. So we just really want to salute Comrade MQ and his relentlessness. And then Ruby also pledged to be one of the 120 people giving $250 before July. And so just going to the bottom of the update, Comrade Jarubi gave $25. And then Comrades Jesse and Amanda pledged to give $500 by July. And so that just gives us just $95 left to go just from this event. So I just really want to salute comrades who have brought us this close to our goals. And, like we said, there is still time to just close that tiny gap to get our goal in today. So thank you so much, comrades. Chair Penny, do you want to do the next one?
Thank you. Thank you, Comrade Soliana. Just really a very dynamic MC for today. That was very powerful. It's been an honor to be here with Chairman Omali Yeshitela, really getting the profound analysis that helps us understand the world and why it is the way it is today, and the whole colonial question, what the chairman calls the colonial mode of production. So let me just say for some of our upcoming events include the National Convention of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement for North American or white people who want to take a stand under the leadership of the African Revolution as a way of standing in solidarity with all oppressed and colonized peoples around the world, and to understand the fact that the colonial question inside the borders of the United States of the colonized African people on the stolen land of the indigenous people, this is central to the liberation of the entire world and overturning colonialism. So we're going to be talking about how white people can can join this struggle in a principled way and be part of the future of all humanity. And that is, there's actually not a date on here. That is oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm not seeing the whole thing. So that is the March 15th and 16th, and you can sign up at, say it, Jesse.
tinyurl.com/USM convention. And we'll put it in chat.
tinyurl.com/USM convention. Please go there and sign up, and you can see it on uhurusolidarity.org. It's going to be really great. Chairman Omali Yeshitela is going to be there, Afia and Gwanza, and many other people. It's just going to be an amazing conference. So next, as always, we want to call on everyone to get, actually the March issue is out of the Burning Spear newspaper, and you can order your subscription. You can also pay for a subscription for somebody who is in the colonial prison system, or you can get bundles of the Burning Spear to sell and be able to build a readership in your own area with your own organization or in your own town. So go to Burning Spear, theburningspear.com, theburningspear.com/subscribe, or theburningspear.store. And join the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition. Salute to the growing list of endorsers with over 200 supporting organizations and individuals. For more information, of course, go to handsoffuhuru.org/coalition. And stay connected. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we're a couple slides behind here. Yes, so stay connected. Follow us on handsoffuhuru.org. Also at Hands Off Uhuru, Facebook, Instagram, X, and Twitter. Uhuru.
Well, may I add another announcement?
Yes, Chairman.
That we will call on people to go to blackisbackcoalition.org.
Yes.
And you can find out about the electoral campaign school that we do regularly. We've been doing for some years now, and it was one of the reasons we got attacked, because we stepped out. And that's going to be on April, what is that? 12th and 13th.
April 12th and 13th.
April 12th and 13th. It's going to be in here in St. Louis for those of you who can get here and can be here. And it's also going to be something that you can get to online. Go to blackisbackcoalition.org for more information.
Uhuru, that's going to be a powerful, powerful conference, and that is going to be here in St. Louis. Correct?
Here in St. Louis,
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. So just a few more announcements here. Go to Uhuru Planet Reparations Apparel to get your Hands Off Uhuru t-shirts and many other powerful political t-shirts. This is a great institution, one of the Black Power institutions of the Uhuru movement. Uhuru, we also have a new shirt, Kick the Ass of the Ruling Class, which is great. I just got one the other day. It's a very good shirt that I think was out by popular demand. Uhuru, and always go to handsoffuhuru.org/events. You can put your event there. Also, keep up with all the events that Hands Off Uhuru holds. And we always hold a major webinar every month. So I know we want to thank everybody who was on tonight, all of our guests. Thank you, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Lenny Foster, Dawn Lawson of the Leonard Peltier Committee, and many other, Director Aisha Fields, and so many comrades. And really want to also thank our chat monitors, Virginia, Indigo, and Johan, who always do just an amazing job keeping everybody informed in the chat here on Zoom, as well as on YouTube and Facebook. So, Uhuru, we are winning.
Indeed.
Hands off Uhuru.
Hands off Africa. Uhuru.